says we're live.
All right.
Let's do this.
I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun.
It is. All right, we got a special live stream for today. And you gotta love the delay because we won't actually know for a minute or two if this is working right. But yeah, welcome to this live stream. It is special because we're doing this live stream all to help you prepare for this cool contest that Spotter's running.
Yeah.
So Spotter Studio, they reached out to us and let us know they were doing this and wanted us to help some of our people have a good chance at winning this thing.
We have a little bit, I don't know, like an advantage. I think that we want
so.
to give to you guys.
Exactly. But here's the way the contest works. It's actually pretty straightforward. You need to use Spotter Studio. If you haven't yet, you just use a free trial.
Yeah.
So you can spend a week or two just using it without paying anything, which you can do a lot in a week. You got to use the tool, and you've got to generate at least 10 ideas. Now, we're going to walk through exactly how to do this, but we're also going to walk through how you're going to make your ideas really good. But if you generate 10 ideas, then you can submit as many of those ideas as you want to them, and then they're going to pick some of the ideas that got submitted, and I guess 9 people are going to be picked as winners. And the winners are going to get flown to LA. I was told the venue is super awesome. I don't know if I'm allowed to say where it's at, but I tried to Google it and I couldn't find it. And maybe it's that cool.
It is. Yeah, I was doing a little bit of looking into it. There's a couple other people who are involved in the giveaway and that sort of thing who maybe let a couple things slip.
Okay.
But basically, from what I understand, it's just this awesome sort of co-creative space.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, I think that it's going to be super cool, super exciting to see. And I should say, we've been working with Spotter on some level for a while. And they've run other contests and competitions, I guess, in the past. And we actually know some people who have won some stuff.
Yeah.
And so I feel like us being here with you today, we all
got a
have
good
a pretty good
shot
shot here. And so that's part of what makes me so excited about all this.
I'm planning to be there, not as a winner, but as somebody that gets to hang out with the winners, which is going to be awesome. The way I understand it, Colin and Samir are supposed to be there. John Ushai is probably going to be there, or is supposed to be there. And there's going to be a handful of other creators that you've heard of that are going to be there. And the idea is that we're going to be able to have some kind of one-on-one office hours discussions. You're going to be able to have some roundtable discussions with some of these creators. And then you're going to get to collaborate with one of these creators that you've heard of and potentially have that collaboration on their channel, which is pretty amazing. But I think even the bigger benefit is going to be what you're going to learn and get out of this experience, working so closely one-on-one with a very successful content creator. I think it's going to do a lot to level up your game. So when you go home, I mean, Spotter gave away some money a little while ago, and it's like, cool, a little bit of money, maybe I buy a camera or something. But this experience and what you're going to learn, I think, is going to do so much more to make you successful than, even like $5,000.
Yeah, I think about the opportunities that we get. Like I think about last year at Bid Summit. We got to rub shoulders with some awesome YouTube creators, other people in the YouTube education space, and that left us feeling so excited and invigorated and just inspired about creating on YouTube. And I just think that this is going to be something like that for you. Yeah, it's going to leave you totally pumped up,
and even more one-on-one, which is amazing.
Yeah, right. It's going to be even better. You're not gonna, if it's there's a couple thousand people. This is going to be a very small group here, so pretty cool.
So there is a link in the description of this YouTube Live. I'll put it in the comment section too after we're done here, to where you can go. You can see all the details for this thing, but also use that link to log into Spotter to sign up for Spotter if you haven't yet, and then you can generate some ideas and go ahead and submit those. So I'm going to show you how to do that right here, right now. We are also going to be taking questions and doing some feedback and stuff for you. So all of you that are watching, this isn't like a pre-recorded thing. You can type questions in at any point, especially if I'm if you have questions about what I'm showing you, type them in. Of course, there's a little bit of delay from the time that I show you something until you'll actually see it. So we may have to jump back, but I would be happy to jump back and dive into anything that I'm showing you.
Yes.
So,
I have the chat pulled up twice.
Yes.
Right here on my computer, right here on my phone. I am the chat guy. Like, we're going to make sure that we get your guys' questions answered today because we really want you to win. And not only that, not just the contest, but win at YouTube. So
exactly.
Anyway.
All right. So let me show my screen. You all should see that. And again, I'm hoping. So here is, and Spotter literally just like changed the layout of Spotter Studio this week. Now, again, because I've been working with him, I was able to see what this looked like a little bit early and got to play around with it. So I like this better. In fact, they added a couple of cool things that were super important that I was maybe going to point out as critiques that they went ahead and added proactively. So we're good to go. So anyway, they got all these little boxes here to show you stuff. I'm going to close all those so we can see this. Now, this is a new Spotter account that I created for another channel that I have. And I've already got 4 ideas in my idea bank. It's showing up just right here. There's also in development. That's stuff that it's an idea that I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go.
Are you telling me we're working on other channels too?
Yeah. And then it shows me published. These are other videos. It's connected to my YouTube account, so it's showing other videos that have been published on my channel, right? We're working on we're working on so many things. Actually, we've got some new stuff coming down the pipeline too that I'm excited for, but we're not talking about that today. And if I click on my ideas here, in fact, in this little section is the projects. It's ideas, in development, and published. It's all there, right? They added this thing. You can add tags to your ideas here, and the AI is gonna generate some tags and stuff for you, but that's just for your own sorting and stuff. Titles and thumbnails, getting new ideas. You can rate your own ideas with these little 3 stars, and then you can sort by like your favorites. And then right here, this is important, share with experts. Click that button, and it's gonna take that idea and send it off to Spotter. And so that's how you submit an idea to enter this contest. It's that simple. So you just go to the ideas section here on the left and take one of your ideas and submit it. But we're gonna go through this whole process real quick. We're gonna generate a new idea. Multiple ways to do this. Out from the home page, we could do it from here. I could type it right there, or there's this little button in the upper right that says add idea. From the ideas page, I can start typing it here. This is like for me to take an idea that I have and then use Spotter to help me workshop that. But let's say I'm kind of stumped, or I just want to know, like, what does the tool think are some good ideas for me, right? So down here under tools, there's this little outliers button. I can click on that, and I have a few options across the top, right? There's audience also watched. This is Spotter looking at my channel and using analytics from YouTube to find out what are some other channels that people that watch my videos are also watching. So these may or may not be directly related to my channel, but the more data YouTube has, the bigger your channel, the more established you are and stuff, that more likely that these are going to be kind of on point. But it's like I got some gaming stuff here, got some tools stuff here, lots of things that are an okay fit and other things that maybe aren't a great fit. This one, I mean, this is pretty much on point. Some of this like gold and silver stuff, kind of on point, right? There's that, but then there's also followed creators. And here I can pick other channels that I want to emulate. So if you're in Project 24, you know about drafting. If there are channels that, I want to make content similar to them, you can go ahead and pick those channels here. You can pick them from this audience also watched. You can do a search across the top for a channel. I haven't done a whole lot of that on this account yet, but anyway, that allows you to do that. And then newest outliers, these are most recent videos. But let's go to audience also watched. These are sorted by new to old. But then there's this outlier index. That's this little green number on the top. What this is telling me is that, for example, this video in the middle has gotten 2.3 times more views for its age, or I guess during its first 7 days on YouTube, than that channel normally gets. So it's an outlier for that channel. That's a good indicator that there was something about this video, the topic or something, that made it perform better than that channel's typical performance. And that's pretty cool. I can also say, you know what, I only want ones that were uploaded. Right now I'm showing since December 7th. But I could say, no, I only want ones uploaded since January of this year. Now it's going to filter them, right? I'm getting a lot of the same videos. That's okay. These are sorted newest to old, but I could also do it based on which ones got the most high or the most views, sorry, high to low, or I could do outlier index. Let's do outlier index. Now, the thing about that is sometimes the videos are more likely to be a little off base. It's like stuff your audience also watch, but it's not maybe quite as on point for you. Anyway.
One thing I love about all this is just the inspiration.
Yeah.
And it's not that this is like 100% completely unique, but I love the way that you can sort it in different ways so that you can get different ideas. And honestly, before even going into the idea section, I guess, of the Spotter tool, we did just get a question here. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it, Ricky.
Yeah.
They said, how does Spotter do the viewers also watch for newer or smaller channels where YouTube Studio doesn't have enough data yet? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know the how.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even sure, like it probably, I don't know.
It's probably not going to be as good. I think the reality is it just won't be as good.
Right.
Because there's less data.
Yeah.
I mean, for a very, very small, brand new beginner channel, I think that this is going to be less helpful. This section of Spotter will just be less helpful. But as you grow, as YouTube starts getting more of that data, since you've connected your channel into Spotter, eventually it's going to give you more and more and more. I would also say that as you look at, like, you can follow certain creators.
Exactly.
And I think that that's maybe where you can get some of that value.
That's where I was going next cool. Like, if you're in Project 24, you know from the very beginning, we're telling you, you need to find some other channels that are doing things really well, but that are similar or that are attracting a similar audience to the audience you want. And again, we have kind of a whole process for picking those channels, and then sort of how we, I don't know, mimic certain things. Not certainly not copy, but mimic certain things. In Spotter, you would just search those channels. I really like Hacksman, and there are some things about what he does that I really like that we're emulating in our channel, right? So I've already, let's see. Oh. Anyway, I've already followed him. I think that's maybe why it's, but you could just find those channels, do a search for them in here, you know, pick that creator, and then you just click the little star, and now you're following them. And so if in the beginning, like, you're not going to get good data, even if it tries to give you some data, it's not going to be that good. So what you do is you pick which creators you want to try to follow, and then here it's going to tell me which of Hacksman's videos, and not just him, right? So if I get rid of that search, I got Outdoor Boys on here because there's some things about what they do that I really like. And it's going to tell me which of their videos are outliers for their channel. Now, these are both much bigger channels than the one I have. And I should fill this out with probably 5 to 10 more channels. But if you go through that process and add some of these channels, it's going to make it so you have a good list of channels to follow, and then it's going to give you which videos were outliers. The cool thing here too is it's like you can look at these and say, oh, well, this is a video that's maybe, there's some things about this video that I really like. Maybe I could do something like that. And I just click this little brainstorm button, or I can just save the video as inspiration for later, but I can click brainstorm. And now what it's going to do is it's going to generate an idea for me. But what it's going to do is it's going to tie in aspects of that video with what it knows about me and my channel based upon all of my past videos. Now, one thing I'd love to give Spotter is I'd love a place where I could put in way more context. Yeah. I want to be able to tell Spotter, this is the audience I'm trying to target. These are the values for my channel. This is the, these are the main topics I want to cover on my channel. Right now, it's pulling a lot of that information based on your old videos, which is a problem if you ever want to kind of pivot on your channel, or you started too broad and now you want to kind of focus in, which is the thing on this channel, right? Like, I kind of started pretty broad, just making a lot of content really fast, and now we're honing in. And so it's not going to be as good, whereas if I could just give they just had a text area where I could give it a bunch of context that the AI could use, I think that would help a lot. So now it's giving me a bunch of ideas, and these are titles, but it's giving me a bunch of ideas based upon that video, right? That was all about concrete, sandbags versus concrete blocks in emergencies. Cool. And then notice like this yellow or the orange, whatever color underline there, it's telling me that the word emergency, it outperforms in 2 different categories. It gets 2.6 times more clicks than titles without the word emergencies in it. This one, survive, that's an explosive overperformer. It gets 4.3 times, like survival is a good word. So it's finding these power words and telling me these words, they tend to resonate with people apparently. 3 cheap materials for a solid, I mean, I could go through and I could find one of these that I like, or if I don't like any of these, I click more. Or if I'm like, okay, when the ground shelters, I don't know what that even means. When the ground shelters your secrets. DIY alternative to expensive concrete. That's fun. Let's go ahead and go with that. I'm gonna click continue, but I don't have to just take this. This is the title, right? Let's say I wanna, well, I'll just go with explode, because what that's gonna do is reframe it a bunch of different ways. Can this DIY fix outdo pricey concrete? Okay, that's a pretty good title. Concrete prices make you cringe-crete. The costly truth of concrete. My journey finding a concrete alternative. Cheap concrete hack every prepper should know. That could be a good concept. DIY concrete solution for preppers.
I think something here that, one thing that I love about this, kind of tying into a question one you guys had, is just the number of ideas.
Yes.
I mean, just look at the ideation that we're able to walk through with this. And of course, there are other tools that can do this. Someone asked specifically about vidIQ versus Spotter.
Yeah.
I really like, one thing I like about Spotter is that they are kind of solely focused on this. Whereas other tools like vidIQ, there's others, they do a wider variety of things, which is good to some extent, but I think that for coming up with ideas, for ideating, for planning, kind of that, the planning and preparing part of a video, I think that since they're solely focused on that, I mean, just some of the features that they added this week that we were hoping that they would, just kind of goes to show me that for this specific type of thing, like building out a video in the planning stages, I personally prefer Spotter, I think, over another tool like vidIQ. But like I said, it's sort of comparing apples to oranges because they're different. They do different
in a lot of
things.
ways.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Mention, speaking of things they just added, right here, there's a box here where I can describe kind of my concept. So let's say I've got these ideas and stuff, but I have a little bit more that I want to add to it. But they've also got this little audience description. And so let's say in here I'm like, well, with this video I really want to target, let's see, people who, people who watch DIY house project videos. For learning and inspiration. Maybe I type that in there, right? So now it's going to use that to give it a little bit more context as it comes up with the next ideas, right? But let's say I like this. Can this DIY fix outdo pricey concrete? But let's say I'm like, I like that, but I want some more power words. Click this power up button. It's going to give me some more titles that have more of these power words in them. Let's see. Build a DIY fix to outdo harvest savings. Okay, so we'll go ahead and keep this one. Whether or not it's the best title, that's up for you to decide. Now here, let's say I make my own thumbnail for this one. I could just upload it here, or if I have a concept, I could upload it, but I don't have that yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on thumbnails, and it's gonna give me a bunch of ideas for thumbnails. Now these aren't intended to be the finished product, but I found them to be so helpful when we wanna make a thumbnail, and I can just go to, to Cody and say, hey, this is the concept for my thumbnail. And then we take the picture that we need, and he can do all the design work. He knows visually what I want instead of me having to try to type it out, right? What I did the other day, see, this is pretty good. Like, got like busted up chunk of concrete, right?
There was one feature, not to derail you, but I don't know if it was under the continue spot, but there was that drop down here, and then it showed different camera angles.
Yes.
I thought that was so cool. When you click that, it like kind of blew up like 6 or 7 more ideas, but it was like from different angles.
Let's look at that. I like this.
So cool.
Yeah, because you can get, because that one was like a straight on shot, right? This is pretty new too. I didn't see this one until just recently. And you can change the image style. You can make it look more realistic or have it be more of a sketch. This concept, look at that, see? It's just an up close.
Yeah.
It's DIY fixed bag, kind of in the background, but the close up busted concrete.
This helps my mind. I don't know, it's just the way that I think about stuff. Like when I just look at like 6 straight on, you know, like we saw before, it's just so much harder for me to conceptualize or visualize different ideas. But once I saw the different angles, like some like over the shoulder or really up close, that really gives me, like, it just sparks more ideas for me. So whether or not I end up using that exact end product, or, you know, take my own photo but make it very similar, it allows me to it just gets my creative juices flowing. And that's one thing that I really liked about that specific feature.
And I accidentally clicked back, so now I lost. But I can open up that project again because it saves it as we go, right? So I'll go back to brainstorm this. Let's say I really liked where we were at, and I didn't click on one. So we'll get back to something similar here.
I think I've done that a couple times where I didn't actually select one, and then I realized I didn't save it.
Yep.
It ended up not being too big of a deal because it just generates ideas so fast.
Yeah.
I was able to get back to something pretty close.
And this is so fast. Like even to do all this in like ChatGPT would be more time consuming.
And I think that that's a good point. That is, everyone who watches Channel Makers knows I'm a little bit of a cheapskate. And so when it comes to like tools and that sort of thing, I'm always fairly hesitant just from a cost perspective. But when talking about, you know, identifying other channels that are similar to yours, you know, things that you want to emulate from their channels, coming up with ideas, saving ideas, you know, all of that part of a YouTube channel, it's so easy to get disorganized with all of that. It's like, oh, I have this note here saving my ideas, and then I have this spreadsheet here where I have the 10 channels that I'm sort of following closely to see what they're making. It's really easy to be all over the place. But that's one thing that Spotter does do well, in my opinion, is it really helps keep everything together.
Exactly.
And it uses AI to pull all of that context. I think we could add more context still, but all that context in together so that you can get a more cohesive vision or plan for the channel.
Yeah, I'm gonna do camera angles here again. I really liked that one, like of the guy holding it up close. Like it's not, you don't need your face necessarily in every video. There are people who like one camera angle behind you. I don't know about that one. Something more like this.
That's similar.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead with this one for now. But again, I would just tell Cody, I was thinking maybe something a little bit different than this, but here's the concept. Then it'll give me the hook. So it'll give me concepts for like that main idea. That's so like it's turning a small bag of DIY mix into something stronger than standard concrete with just a swift shake and pour. Alchemy of transforming a humble mix. Own budget-friendly multiple. We'll go ahead and add this one. We're going to speed this up a little bit now. All right. When I click to keep it, and by the way, let's say like I can't decide between a couple of these. Just keep multiple things, right? Whichever one you click on last is the one it's going to show as the one you're doing. But then you can just switch between them, and it's just going to hold them. Make this the primary. Okay. Awesome. Now that's saved. I can go to the project. Now I can go to the story beats. This is really good. Like, you need to be doing something like this. If you're going to use like ChatGPT, fine, that's cool. But this is awesome. So it's going to take the concept so far we've come up with, and then I pick the video type. Let's say this is if you do general, it's just going to give you like all the story beats, which is pretty cool. You might say it's a tutorial, but I don't really want it to be a tutorial. I want it to be a little bit more.
I wonder if challenge could it be?
Yeah, let's do a challenge.
Almost like a versus kind of challenge.
Yeah, let's do it as a challenge. Okay, and so then I can say, well, what's the goal of the video, right? I click on that, and it's just going to give me a bunch of ideas. And maybe I don't totally love any of these, but I'm going to grab one and I can edit it. So like if it's close enough, right?
This one's kind of interesting. A sturdy, budget-friendly outdoor seat using alternative concrete recipe, withstanding both use and others. So like,
I like
so
that.
building something with regular and then some sort of concrete alternative to seat, and then kind of maybe doing some sort of torture test on both of them. That could be kind of cool.
So with the storyline, in a good story, we need a decision point.
It's also funny because like this is the first time we're seeing all these ideas.
Yeah.
It's like you're seeing us like process them the same time you guys are, because literally every time you pull it up, it can give you something new.
Like, are we going to use other support materials like rebar or wire mesh or something? Sure. This doesn't have to be like the main point of the video. It's just at some point in the video, it's more engaging if you have to make a decision in the video, right? How are we going to handle this? B-plot, that's another thing. A lot of times you're not going to think about this, but in a video, if there's a kind of a secondary plot going on.
Yeah.
So midway through the challenge, we introduce a surprise guest who's an expert, or we end up having a friendly competition, or there's a side task. A twist here. Oh, the weather conditions suddenly change. Let's go with that. I like that. Okay, and then the story beats. We've got the hook. In fact, that we should... I've already we had sort of a hook, but anyway, these are all the pieces, right? In a challenge, you've got constraints, and then you've got what are the challenges and obstacles that come up. And you can plan for these. And then the cool thing is, in the process of making your video, sometimes real obstacles come up.
Right.
Like when that happens, hone in on those, and like instead of just like hiding those from the video, make them a feature of the video. Makes your stories way better.
It was this section of Spotter that when I first saw it,
yes,
when we were first introduced to it, I was like, okay, cool, another AI tool. But when I saw this section, this was something that I sort of felt like we had been missing in our videos. And
yes,
as we like roasted your guys' channels, we often saw some of you were missing this type of thing in your videos. And I just thought to myself, this not only is it going to help you be faster just because you're going to come to better ideas faster, but it's also going to make your videos just better, like higher quality ideas. And so when I saw this is what sold me on Spotter, and I think it's just improved. And I just love that it gives you like, you know, the constraints, the challenges, the obstacles, and you don't have to use it all. Like you can just pick and choose the ones that you like to craft the video that you want, but it's there for you, just ready to be explored if that's what you want to do. And I just thought that was really, really cool.
Okay, so I picked a couple constraints. We have to use it without any pre-manufactured concrete mix, and we have 48 hours to construct it.
Oh, cool.
There you go. There's two constraints for the challenge, right? I'm going to say I got to do this within 48 hours. And then challenges, we already talked about maybe the weather changes on us. So you can incorporate all of these or none of these. Is there going to be a twist somewhere in here where something changes? Midway through the project, the team receives a mysterious package containing an unexpected ingredient that promises to enhance the mix. So what do we have this debate? Are we going to add it or not? What are we going to do? Or we start contrasting the framework and we suddenly notice a design flaw. How do you plan to suddenly notice a design flaw? They do it on HGTV in every episode of every show.
Yeah. Or if you're someone like me, I would plan something that just wouldn't work, and that would happen.
That would happen on its own, right? It's just amazing to me that on Property Brothers, they always find a load-bearing wall that needs a beam, every time, and they didn't know it was there in every episode.
That's movie magic, right?
It's movie magic. We can use a little movie magic.
Yeah.
Make your YouTube videos more entertaining, because that's why people are there. So when I'm done with all this, let's say, I'm going to click this little copy, right? And then I'm going to go back to my project, and I can go to the notepad, and I can paste it in there, right? So now it's got all the pieces that we just worked out. Now, the thing with this, though, is it's not like a full, even an outline, right? There's all these pieces. So what I could do is I could take that, and I could go to like ChatGPT, and I could say, prompt it, right? I always say please. I'm always like nice to
you gotta treat it good.
You never know. I mean, someday these guys are gonna be ruling the world. So just always be nice.
Can you please do this for me?
Yeah. And I could give this more, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and paste in here all this stuff. And then I could use ChatGPT and it can help me generate an outline for the video, and I could see what I like about that. I could tell it, this is the thing with AI too. It's gonna give me this outline, right? It's like, okay, video type's a challenge, here's the goal, okay, the hook. And look at this. And this is like not even a custom GPT, this is just ChatGPT. Opening shot, close up of conventional concrete cracking, and the DIY mix is being poured. What if I told you there's a way to make concrete without actual concrete, and it might even be stronger? We have just 40, the tease the challenge. We have 48 hours, and these are maybe kind of options, but honestly, I could just do all of this as one awesome kind of hook. The setup, construction begins. Like, this is pretty good, right? And we got a strength test at the end. Did it actually work? We're gonna jump on this chair, see if it holds up. And then we're gonna sandblast it or something to see how well it holds up. Whatever, right? Yeah, like this is pretty good. But where this gets powerful is when I go back and say, okay, here's what I liked about the outline, here's what I don't like about the outline. Let's try again. Yeah. And as we iterate through that, it's only gonna get better and better. And then when I'm done, I could even ask it to give me a script. And you're gonna end up with a pretty decent script. And you can specify, here's here's the audience who it's for, here's the tone that I want to take in the video. You can give it, the more you give it, the more context you can give it, the better the AI works. And so you can see how, like, this gave us a ton, but it didn't quite take me all the way to the point of having a full outline for my video. But just using ChatGPT, we can take that and we can carry it to the finish line, to where we have a video that's basically ready to film. Anyway, there's your quick tutorial on how to use it and how to use it effectively. I would say for this challenge, and here, this is Spotter Labs. These are kind of extra things. Like, it's not automatically going to save this stuff to my project. That's why I copied and pasted it to the notepad. I also really like this. They added this. There's some tools online that let you do this, but now it's just built in. This preview, it's going to show me how my thumbnail and title and stuff looks on like a home page, right? And it's like, okay, well, what does it look like on a TV? All right, that's cool. What about on mobile device? Okay, how, does my thumbnail pop? Okay, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And then when I actually make my real thumbnail, if I want to, I can again go back into this project and I can upload my real thumbnail to here. So I can download this one, but I could add a new one. Click add.
Also, the home page, I think the
YouTube home, a search page.
So that was really cool. And the free one that I used,
suggested page.
I'm pretty sure you only get like 3 or 4 tries before you like run out of credits. Right, yeah. And so you can test like unlimited.
Do this all day long. And look, I can refresh it and see how it compares multiple times to different. And if you notice, some of these thumbnails look familiar. They look familiar because these are the videos my audience also watches. Yeah. So again, pretty cool here. Details for the video too. The status is an idea stage. And again, for the challenge, you need 10 ideas. Yeah. So put 10 things in the idea stage. If you are ready to start working on the video, just hold out and keep it in the idea stage for now, so that you make sure you at least have 10 in there for the purpose of this challenge. That runs through the end of March, by the way. But when I'm ready to start working on this, I can move it to in development, and then I can even target, here's how long I want the video to be, here's when I plan to publish it, here's who sponsors it, here's some tags for the video, and then is this private to me, or do I want my whole team to be able to see it? Because in Spotter, I'll exit this brainstorm, I can add team members. I can invite other people, so I could invite the rest of my team, I could invite my video editor, whoever, all into here, and that way you could literally use Spotter to sort of manage the project and be up to date with what's going on. It's pretty cool stuff. So that's all the stuff that's in Spotter. And again, I would say that for the purpose of this challenge, when you're working through an idea, I'll go back to open this up. The more stuff that you fill in, the better. Oh, it did pull in the story beats.
Oh, cool.
I don't think it used to do that. Sweet. So do that. Don't just put in the title, thumbnail, hook. Fill out the story beats, because what you want to do is you want to show them a full concept for a really engaging video. That's what's going to win this contest. So fill it all in. And again, let's say that this goal, maybe it's not quite right, but it's close. So when I choose a goal, so I can continue editing this. Gosh, yeah, this is newer. This is cool. I can take this and I can edit it, and I can change it up however I want to. And then going forward, all of these other plot points are going to be based upon kind of my edited goal, right? So do those as you go and just build it out the way that you want it to be. Oh, this is so cool. And then
it's really fun to like come across like updates,
new things, right?
Like, we were just looking at this the other day, kind of, you know, looking through, seeing what we wanted to talk about on this live. It was like we're literally coming across new things right now. It's
awesome.
So awesome.
And then you need to pick at least one, but I haven't seen anywhere where it says you can't do more than one. And just click share with experts, and that's it.
Yeah. So a couple things. They talk about like what kind of ideas should you submit. So let's just talk about it really quick. So they say something that's original. So something fresh, exciting, something really engaging. And that should something that could fit on your channel. Something impactful. So some good storytelling potential. I think I feel like we should talk about sort of storytelling and ideas just generally here for just a little bit, but something that has good storytelling potential. And then something that you can actually do, so something that's feasible. Those are sort of the three things that they want. So you can't just go out and make the craziest idea that no one could ever potentially do.
It's got to be somewhat realistic.
It has to be something realistic. And I think that I really like that, because that encourages people to create ideas that they can actually use for their channel.
Yeah.
And so if you feel like you're in a spot on your channel where you don't think you could have a winning idea for this, I think that is a really good tell that you should be trying this stuff out. Because if you don't think you can come up with an idea for your channel that's original, impactful, and feasible, like all three of those things, then maybe your channel needs a little refresh. And I think that could be a really good sign to sort of pivot just a little bit on the type of the videos that you're doing, the style that you're doing, maybe adding a little more storytelling in. I think that could get you on a path that's just going to make you more successful on YouTube in the long term.
So let's talk a little bit about what makes for a good idea, because that's what's going to win this. You just talked about, original, right? These are the things that everybody that reads this is going to know this. So how do we come up with an idea that's going to be a step beyond what everybody else is going to submit here? And there's some things we can do to come up with more unique ideas. If you're familiar with the concept of the purple cow, right? This is Seth Godin. This is marketing gold stuff, right? The purple cow, right? If you see a bunch of cows in a field, are you going to remember any of those cows? No. But if you saw a purple cow standing in a field, you would never forget it, because purple and cows don't go together. But the color purple is perfectly normal, and cows are perfectly normal, right? At least, some of us who live in more rural areas see cows sometimes. So what happens if you take two things that don't obviously go together in your niche and you put them together?
Yeah.
Right? So like a DIY concrete thing, like making your own concrete, but then combining that with, I don't know, something that you wouldn't think of as normally concrete, but that maybe also fits my niche, something that's also maybe in the preparedness or self-reliance space. Whether it's the type of project that I work on, like building a chair. People don't normally make their chairs out of concrete, so maybe that makes that a little bit more unique.
It could also be sort of fun or ridiculous. It's okay for that to be a part. Like, what if we made a DIY concrete backpack? Like, really, why would you make a backpack out of concrete? But
it's just to test to make sure the concrete will work, right? But it's like that's not the best material for a backpack.
It's just like it's okay for it to be a little bit weird or crazy, and maybe that's not the final idea that you land on. But you want to, when you're like spitting out ideas and writing them down and getting them ready, like write down 10 ideas or 50 ideas or 100 ideas and let some of them be crazy.
Yes.
Get some of those ones out that just don't really make sense, because you might find that it's a mix of what doesn't make sense and what does, like right in the middle. Sometimes that's where you find the best ideas. But if you don't ever allow yourself to get those out there, then you're always going to be holding yourself back. It's been amazing as we've been doing some more like ideation, just deeper ideation, like the self I don't know. We kind of self-sabotage. I've seen that with my ideation for videos. It's like, I don't think we could do that. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can find a middle ground where we can push ourselves a little bit farther, and we always come out with better video ideas.
No kidding. Something you kind of just brought up there with these the ideation process, the brainstorming. We don't even call it brainstorming because that is just old school thinking, like the idea flow, right? And we've talked about where that comes from here on this channel many times, and the book Idea Flow, which you should read. As a content creator, you should read that book. But letting ideas live, just taking the time to let them literally just flow out, and thinking about ideas and letting yourself brainstorm not from the standpoint of what's feasible.
Right.
I think that's something that we often do, especially as newer content creators, is, well, what can I do with the resources that I have? And that's our starting point. And anything that falls outside of what we think we can do, immediately you judge it as a bad idea. And then you don't even let your mind go that direction. And that's the problem, is when as soon as you judge an idea as good, your mind follows that line of thinking. You judge an idea as bad, your mind completely steers away from that line of thinking. And so we just have to give ourselves opportunities to let the ideas just flow with literally no judgment. And that takes a lot of practice for some of us.
It does.
But in doing that, that's where you come up with the crazy idea to drop how many basketballs out of an airplane, right? Which most of us don't have the resources to do. But if that was an idea that came to your head, well, okay, maybe I can't do that, but what could I do? Yeah. So when you come up with an idea that seems absurd, but there's something about it that's really good, well, then we can find the ways to rein it in, but still make it creative and unique and awesome. But you're probably not going to come up with really unique ideas if you only think about your ideas from the starting point of, what can I already do?
Yep, totally. Someone here commented, LTT, Linus Tech Tips, made a computer wrapped in lead. You can do anything. That is such a good and funny example. And again, kind of going back to Spotter, AI doesn't care if it's a good idea or a bad idea. And I even hate framing it that way, but AI is going to give you ideas, and you might look at them and go, what?
Yeah.
But that is a good thing. When we see an idea that just doesn't really make sense to us, and those types of ideas are presented over and over, and you can generate 10, 10, 10, 10, right? Over and over again, all of a sudden, if you're not that good at coming up with ideas, that is a great place to start, because you don't have to be the one to, start generating them automatically. You might start having more ideas after you get those initial ideas from Spotter, but again, just having that starting spot, it has saved me multiple times.
Yeah.
Just using AI in general has helped me so many times from an ideation or inspiration standpoint.
I think that's key. So when I first started kind of working with this idea flow concept, I did it without AI, and it was amazing because I remember doing an idea flow pretty early on, and one of the first ideas that came to my mind was one that I knew was just not an option. And so I remember just not writing it down, and I remember feeling totally stuck. And then finally, I just let myself write down the idea. An idea that I wasn't even okay sharing that I had that idea with other people. But it wasn't until I let myself write it down that it let me open up the floodgates. And next thing I knew, I had 5 ideas and then 50 ideas in a matter of minutes, 10 minutes. And that was incredibly powerful. And if you're finding that you're stuck because you do what a lot of us do and we judge ideas immediately as good or bad, that is where AI is a tremendous tool. And you can use it, prompt it with, this is kind of what I'm looking for. I want you to give me creative and unique ideas for this. It's going to generate massive amounts of ideas. And then, just let those ideas live for a second and let your mind follow each one for a little bit. And then what you're going to find is it's going to kick off that idea flow for you. And then next thing you know, you're going to be adding a bunch of ideas yourself that are maybe a better fit. AI has, changed the way I think about things, and I use it as a partner.
Yep.
We're the thought leaders, it's the thought partner.
Yep.
Don't try to make it the thought leader. There's so many things we've learned from so many places that we're trying to like condense into one little YouTube live.
So you shared something with our team just the other day where just kind of contrasting where you have been with ideas with where you are now.
Yeah.
So you talked about on an old channel that you used to run how you would come up with like a list of 50 ideas and just like, okay, I need a video. Okay, off this list, which one do I want to do? And it's like, after a few weeks, it's like, I don't like that one. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. And then you just end up ideating like one more idea and then using that one. But you always felt like you had this big list of ideas that were always there. So it's like this feeling of having enough, but in reality, it was never good enough. And then contrasting that with doing an idea flow, or this advanced brainstorm every week, and then coming up with a list of 10 or 20 or 50 ideas every single week.
Yeah.
And how much more inspired or how much more like direction you felt from that. Anyway, that was really impactful to me because I do that on one of my channels that I run. I'm like, I have this whole list of ideas, and then I go to the list and I'm like, let's go look for some other ideas. And it's just like, if I would just take the time to schedule 10 minutes every week to go look for ideas and note them all down, I would have good ideas all the time.
Mm-hmm. And the ideas, it's like they felt like they were so scarce, right? That it's like, I can't throw away any of these ideas because maybe in the right situation or maybe with enough prep work, maybe it would be a pretty good. No, if I look at this idea and I'm like, I don't want to make that video, I will probably never want to make that video, and it's time to just remove it. Like, okay, if you really want to save it, put it in an archive that you'll probably never look at, but at least you feel like you saved it, right? And let yourself do this idea flow exercise. Again, once a week. You could spend 5 minutes once a week and come up with 20 new concepts for videos every week, and you only need to use one of them. It's incredible. Let yourself do that. Another thing that often works as a really good idea on videos is to take a really contrary approach to something that, like, if you can take a principle that most of your audience is going to agree with and then find a way to like go contrary to that principle, that's gonna, I don't know. People always look at that and they'll often want to click on the video just because they want to see, one, like, am I really wrong? And two, sometimes they want to look at that and say, no, these people are wrong, and I want to go comment and tell them that they're wrong, but I am kind of curious. And so whenever you can do that, whenever you can establish a contrary viewpoint, we've used that a ton over the years, and some of our most effective videos.
Should we show them the landing page?
Yeah.
I guess they can go look at it themselves, but it's just exciting to me to see like some of the details of the contest here.
Yeah.
And even you guys could pull it up if you want, but there's a ton of information of how to get signed up, how to get your ideas there, some details of the contest. To me, the FAQ was really helpful as I was like looking through like, what about this? What about that? So anyway, lots of good information there. So you guys should definitely. You
can start your free trial right there, right at the top. But then, you can see there's John, there's April Lynn, and Colin and Samir. You can see about this event in LA that's going to be awesome. Peter Hollins is here on this live stream. I saw you commenting, Peter. Peter tells me he's planning to be there. Peter's an awesome dude. We're glad you're here. It shows you how to, the stuff we just showed you. So, create your 10 ideas and submit. It says submit the best one. So maybe pick your best one. I didn't see before that it said one. So pick your best one and do that. And then they're going to pick 9 creators. Yeah. And that's going to be you. And we'll get to go hang out in LA at a super awesome venue. Oh, look, that's me. And then there's all these FAQs, right? So, other specific questions about this challenge that you have, some of those are going to be answered right here.
Yeah. And if you are already using Spotter, you're like
you're already ahead.
All you have to do is just go in, get those ideas, add them to the bank, and then submit your favorite one. So anyway, I'm super, super excited about this. It's, again, even aside from the contest, which is like literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for 9 creators, like I just think about myself as a small creator being in that situation. That would be really cool. But even changing the way that you do YouTube.
Yes.
If you let this inspire you to change the way that you start creating videos, even if you don't end up making it to LA, like there's going to be content created there that's going to share some of the things that happened, some of the things that were learned, and then you're going to benefit from that anyway, but you're going to have already gained the biggest benefit, which is cool.
Going through this entire exercise 10 times is going to make you a lot better at preparing for videos, at ideating, and planning your videos in a way that is going to be way more engaging. You mentioned the story beats being a big thing. I remember thinking all the time, and we've got it open again here, wondering, okay, we need to do better storytelling, but how do I do that on such an informational channel? We do tutorials, not even about like physical things I can show you so much. Most of the time it's like I'm just teaching stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I wondered about that for a long time and tried to think of ways to do it, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And then I started using Spotter, and it was coming up with ideas for me. And I didn't use all, a lot of times I wasn't able to use everything because it didn't really fit, but I was able to do a lot with it, and it made my videos better. It helped my videos perform better. Something Peter said here in the comments that I totally agree with. Like, I wish I'd had this years ago when I was a solo content creator, doing this all by myself. Yeah. For several years now, I've had the ability to I've got other people that I work with that we could brainstorm together. This takes a whole team of people and all their ideas in a 2-hour brainstorming session and allows me to do it myself in 5 to 10 minutes. And then I can use the other people to help me refine those ideas and make the videos way better than I ever could before. This is changing the game. AI is changing video. It is changing YouTube, but not because people are just making amazing AI videos that can totally replace us. What it's doing is it's helping everyday creators to be able to create way better content than they ever did before. Yeah. And that is why YouTube is the #1 streaming platform on TV, is because of creators like you, who we have access to amazing tools, and we're just creating real stuff, authentic stuff that people want to see, and that's what people are choosing to watch today. Yeah, even really, more than cool. Netflix.
Yeah, it was really crazy. On my personal channel the other day, I was looking at some of the analytics, and I was looking at some of the videos, and the videos are getting like 300 views per video. 500 views per video. It's still fairly small, but I was just thinking to myself, I was talking to Cody, our editor, I was like, 300 people watched that.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And all of us here, trying to learn YouTube, trying to grow, trying to be better, like, we are the people that are being watched, even if it's on a small scale right now. Like the whole, when we talk about the creator economy, like, that is millions and millions of people all contributing to something. I just think that there's so much good to be had. There's so much good content, whether it's entertainment or education or inspiration. Like, we are all a part of something really big and really great. And so as we improve our content, not only are we more likely to be seen or to grow, which is great, like, that's what we want to do, but we can have so much more impact.
Yeah.
Like, we can do really good, amazing things with this. And so for me, yeah, it's fun. It's amazing to have such a cool business. That's one of my favorite parts about this, is the business side, but the impact and the inspiration that the reach that we can have is really, really cool. And that's maybe something you have thought about, maybe it's not, that's okay, but that's something that's really meaningful to me.
Yeah. Well, why don't we take a little bit of time here, and we can answer questions about this, about the contest, about ideation, but also we'll just mix this in with, if you have an idea or a concept for a video that you want to share here that we could roast together, we're happy to do that. We'll talk about your idea. I get that you might want to keep some of your best ideas close to the chest. So if you don't want to do that publicly, I get it. Maybe you share something that's a little bit different than your idea, and we could roast that, and then you could learn from it. I don't know, whatever you want. But we can also take questions. We got a little bit of time here. We'd love to engage a little bit more with you.
Yeah, so K&J Lumber, I've been kind of chatting back and forth. Yeah. Thanks for being here, by the way. They say 14 days doesn't feel like it's long enough to gauge whether or not this is going to be a viable solution. But I think part of that is because Spotter used to have a longer trial period that we've seen, and now it's a little bit shorter. They have shortened it. But do you think 14 days is enough?
I think that something that I found with free trials that happens a lot is when it's a long free trial, you sign up for it, and then 2 months go by, and you're like, oh, shoot, I never used it. And then your free trial lapses. With 14 days or even 7 days, start the free trial and set aside the time to jump in and try it out. I think you're going to find that within an hour, you're going to basically have multiple videos planned, and you're going to know whether or not this is something you want to use. Now, I get it that it doesn't give you enough time to now go create those videos and see how well those videos performed relative to your normal videos on your channel. But if it comes down to that, then at the end of the free trial, don't pay for it.
Right.
And then if it worked out really, really well, then okay, come back and pay for it.
Yeah.
But in 7 to 14 days, depending on which free trial you end up doing, you could generate a ton of really good video ideas. You could generate your whole year's worth of video ideas if you really wanted to just dedicate 4 hours.
Yeah.
You could probably do a year's worth of videos. You'd probably be exhausted by the end of that, but you could do it in a day. That's my thought on it, is just put in a little bit of time with it over those 7 days or 14 days. And I think you're going to find that it was incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like you said, you're not going to be able to walk through the entire video process from start to finish. But what you are able to accomplish in that 14 days, like you said, I would bank as many videos as possible, 5, 10 videos. And then as you publish them, you're going to be able to start looking at the analytics. You're going to have that idea, even if it's after the trial ended. So I would argue and say 14 days is enough, depending on, if you actually use it in that time. But I get where you're coming from.
Oh yeah, totally.
It is. I know we're all busy, so it's hard. It's hard to take advantage of something when there's a shorter window. We have a couple people submitting ideas here. Isabel says, it's so easy to feel like your viewership is small. I was trying to remind myself to imagine that many people in a room with you suddenly feels like more. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going through as well. Like, I was thinking 300 people in this room with me right now, I would be like,
right?
I would want to hide. I'm the kind of person, like, I'm maybe a little more introverted, and standing in front of 300 people and giving a presentation, I'd feel so uncomfortable. But yeah, it is really amazing to feel that difference and to really think about that impact even on a small scale. So pretty cool. Someone has an idea here. We can chat about here really quick. Top 12 board games of all time. So I'm gonna put you on that, Ricky. Is that something?
Yeah,
you wanna
I'll look at that.
Follow up on. In the meantime, sorry if I say this wrong, Azilzan, I'm sure I butchered that. The secret sauce for video outlines and formats isn't so secret anymore. Where do you see content going as more and more people are using these retention hacks? I think that's a good question. And when I think about good storytelling, well, let's back up a little bit. Barrier to entry on YouTube. Really the barrier to entry on YouTube is pretty low. It's like if you have a smartphone, maybe not even a microphone to start with, like cost-wise is pretty easy. Maybe it's time. Maybe there's a time barrier to entry there. There are going to be people who are just in love with the craft, right?
Yeah.
They are going to dive into the storytelling. They're going to dive into the editing. They're going to dive into, making just the best videos possible. I would say 95% of people just will never do that.
Yeah.
If we look at how many people are on YouTube versus how many are actively publishing, if we look at how many people are above 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, like I think it's like only 6% of like creators ever get monetized through YouTube.
It's
so
incredibly
it's really
low.
And now it's still millions and millions of people, but when you think about those barriers to entry, and as we AI making all of this a lot easier, there may very well be more people who are able to create better. But one thing that I love about YouTube is, since you are, in most cases, maybe if you're a faceless channel, it's not the case, but as you are the brand, as your personality is infused, your storytelling is infused into everything you do, you can find ways to stand out. You made a video, maybe it was a year or two ago, talking about finding something that's unique about you, that you can share or that you can bring into your channel. And I just think that you may be forced to lean into those types of things a little bit more in order to make your videos stand out, to make them be more impactful. Maybe you do need to go and you need to learn better marketing tactics and techniques. As far as retention tricks or hacks, I think there will be a lot of people who just try and use tricks or hacks, and that's going to fall flat when it comes down to it. Like if I just went into AI, ChatGPT or whatever, and I just asked for a script, and then I sat down, got the script, recorded, threw it up, it's just not going to be as good as someone who goes through all the story beats and then plans out and then works and does multiple iterations. It won't be as good. It just won't.
Nope.
And so people, most of them always want to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
So don't be that person. Always try and be the person who's striving for excellence, and I think you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, people having access to the information, like there have been books, audiobooks, and then later articles, and then YouTube videos, like over the years. But the information about how to make a really good story in a video, that's been around for many decades, right? Probably, I mean, the elements of a good story been around for centuries. So the information's been available. Yeah, it's getting easier. And yes, we're at a point with AI where AI can like take our concept and literally like apply good storytelling principles to it. But most people aren't going to go that extra mile and actually execute it in a way that's engaging. And so having the knowledge versus like developing the skill and putting in the effort to actually execute on that, I think is something that most content creators are still going to lack for a long time. And so if you're willing to put in that effort and find what's unique about you that you can do something with, that's going to go a long way. Okay, I do have a few ideas, and yes, I used AI to help me with these. But top 12 board games of all time, right? List video. Like, to me, that's kind of like, we've made lots of videos like that over the years. Sure, I could see that being interesting, engaging. But what if you took that and instead, maybe it's, I'm thinking logistically, but what if you did it tournament style? So it's like you pick 8 board games, right? And you pit them all against each other, right? So it's like these two, these two, these two, and these two, right? So you've got 8. And so then you go through each matchup and pick which game is better of the two based upon whatever, right? And then so now you're down to 4 and it's a matchup of those two. And then you end up with your 2 finalists, the best 2 games of all time. And you know, and then each step, like, you're using whatever criteria make the most sense for those 2 games, but you're just having a lot of fun with that and giving it sort of this tournament feel. That's one way you could maybe do that, and it would work with 8, it'd work with 16, but that might be too many. I'm just thinking about that because of the way tournaments work. You could do it with 12, but then some would have a bye week, you know, whatever. Another one it gave idea that it gave, I didn't like this as much, but it could work, is telling a personal narrative, and it's like, these are 12 board games that changed my life, and so each board game is tied to a specific milestone or something. I really like this one. This actually reminds me of a YouTube video that Peter Hollins made. This is the top 12 board games through the decades. He made one that was like Christmas songs through the decades, or through history, and so it's like, you know, 1840s, and then it's like a song that was written in that time frame, or that was, I think it was based on when they were written. And so he's kind of in a little costume for that time period, right? Top hat and stuff for 1850s or whatever. And he's singing a portion of this song. And then it cuts to the next song, and then it tells you that, you know, this song was written. And there's a little bit of text on the screen showing like this song was written in this time frame or whatever. And he's singing that song in appropriate dress. And it goes all the way up through kind of modern times, and you got like Mariah Carey and stuff. I say modern, but for a lot of you, that's probably not that modern. That would be cool. What if it was like, what was the most popular board game in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s, or whatever? Or maybe you could do that even just over the last decade. What was the most popular game each year? And just do that research and find that data. And so there's this reveal. Every game is a reveal of like, this was the most popular game from this year. This was the most popular from this year. And then another one, this is the if you like this, you'll love that format. It could be like, hey, if you love strategy like chess, you're going to really love this game. If you like Dungeons and Dragons but want something faster, try, it says Gloomhaven. And so it could be just like, oh, if you like this is something you'll love. That's going to give people inspiration, because you pick a really, really well-known things that people are going to know if I like that or not. And then based upon that, you give them a recommendation for something they're less likely to be familiar with. That's incredibly valuable information, but it's also, I don't know, just an interesting way to tell people about the best board games, or really good board games that maybe aren't as well known, which is really cool. I think if it's like the 12 best board games, you're probably going to tell me about 12 board games I've already heard of. Right. I think that's a problem. And it's given me more. Like I have like 10 different ideas here, right? And I just said, this is the prompt I said. Help me improve on the idea for a YouTube video about top 12 board games of all time. And it gave me 7 or 8 different premises. Some of them are better than others. But I mean, it was that simple. And I didn't even have to think about it that hard.
Yeah, so I just typed one in here while you were chatting. And I just said, can you give me 20 unique ways to create the YouTube video, top 12 board games of all time? I don't want just a generic list video. So it kind of came up with like
presentation
styles, different ways to engage the audience, like themed or stylized approaches. And it's just like, holy cow, some of these are really good ideas. So one that I really liked was doing like a social experiment. So test playing with kids versus families versus hardcore gamers, or even like posting in different forums, like gamer forums versus party game, just people who are like way into it versus those who are less into it.
And there's a subreddit for everybody.
There totally is. Or like posting in your YouTube community, and rather than it just being ranked as worldwide popularity, maybe it's like, what does my audience think?
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys say are the top, best games of all time? There's a lot of very creative ideas here. There's like ASMR, like some of these may just not fit, but again, it's just like getting those ideas rolling. Board game mashups. It's just like some of these are really, really cool. And then, overall, when I just look at these ideas, this prompt took me 10 seconds to type in.
Yeah.
Right? Just like what you were saying. And I got tons of ideas that I may use, may not use, but overall, I just think that, I don't know, there's something so cool about, I don't even like playing board games that much, and I'm excited about some of these things. Like, I would maybe watch some of these videos.
And the thing is, like, there are a lot of good ideas here. There's a lot of them that would be impractical or wouldn't even be that interesting, and that's fine. The thing is, like, we were just talking about how, well, anybody could do that. Anybody could type that into AI. But how many people are going to go play test 12 games with different groups?
Yeah.
That's going to take hours. How many people, even just like doing a poll with your YouTube community, a lot of YouTubers aren't going to take that extra step to gather data. They're just going to pick the 12 games and then talk about the 12 games. And they'll use whatever method they want to pick them, whether it's just worldwide data or if it's just their own, these are my favorite 12 games.
Yeah.
But it's just going to be, as most YouTubers are going to keep it as simple as possible. And they're going to put in that minimum effort. They're going to record themselves talking to a camera, sharing the 12 games. And that's about it. If you're willing to take it a step further and try doing one of these ideas of presenting it in a different way or coming up with a slightly different concept like board games through the decades or something like that, there's a little bit more research involved there, and it's going to give them a much more novel video than what they would get if someone just gives them a top 12 list.
Yeah. One of these ideas was like cosplaying as like a different piece or like character from each one of the games. So maybe you don't even tell people what the game is in the ranking, but you're dressed as somebody, or maybe you're doing an accent or something.
You're the Monopoly guy.
Yeah, like that would be really funny. There was one video that I saw that was actually similar to that. It was someone reviewing some products, and it was creator products. So rather than just saying, oh, I like this, I like that, they literally dressed up as the creators who created the product. So it was like Linus Tech Tips. There was some like other like off-road recovery products. So every time they dressed up as these different creators, and it was just hilarious. They did like these little skits, and they talk sort of the way that these other YouTubers talk, sort of kind of making fun in a friendly way. And it just made the video, rather than it just being top 10 creator products that I've used, like, it was actually hilarious. It was almost comedy mixed in with the review, and it was almost that Purple Cow idea, right?
Yeah.
It's just that you took two things that you could have done. You could have just done a comedy video making fun of other creators. You could have just done a review of their products. But by mashing those two things together and dressing up and taking that extra time, it made a video that was hilarious. I actually watched the whole thing, even though 90% of the products I have no interest in.
Yeah.
It's just that some of the creators in there I recognize, and so it was really funny to watch.
Yeah. We got a couple questions here. K&J Lumber's asking, I can't buy this right now. We need to clear payments, whatever, until I can get approval for my team. Like, what's the time frame for something like this? So for the contest runs through the end of March. So if you do the free trial, you can create your 10 ideas, submit one of them, and I don't think your account still needs to be active at the end of the 30 days or at the end of March, right? So as long as between now and the end of March, you create your 10 ideas and you submit one of them, you should be good to go. You're entered into the contest. In terms of the tool here, it's around, like, if it's something you're going to need approval for and stuff, and that might take a month or two, that's cool. It will be here when you're ready. It's a really cool tool, and I don't know of anything about pricing changing real soon. So yeah, just the biggest thing is the sooner you can use it, the sooner you can use it.
Yeah.
So, and then Azillion's asking, what's your take on balance between quantity and quality? It says more and more creators are uploading every month or so. And I think we are seeing that more.
Yeah.
people who are slowing way down but making better videos. I get it. Like, I understand it. And I think that the biggest trick is if you don't know how to make the quality yet and you need a lot of practice, then quantity.
Yeah.
You just need to make a bunch of videos, and you need to start figuring out like who wants to watch the kind of stuff you want to make, and just give YouTube as much data as possible by giving it lots of content. And so for that, a weekly publishing schedule is fantastic. But as you build up the skill and figure out more of kind of the direction you want to go, slowing down makes a lot of sense. We actually made a video about this on this channel a little while back, just talking about when you might want to speed up, when you might want to slow down, and sort of what your publishing schedule should look like. That's my thought on it.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with you. A lot of creators, they see bigger creators who are just sort of masters, I would say, at the craft.
Yeah.
They see them slowing down, and they want to take the same path. And I think that there is something to that, giving yourself the space to learn as you go. But I would just say be careful that you don't slow down too much so that you end up losing steam, because making better videos, it's hard, especially when you're just getting started. There's definitely a learning curve to it, and that's not to say you can't, but it is difficult. And so, like you said, maybe if you are just starting, maybe you're just really dipping your toes in a little bit, keeping a pretty regular publishing schedule could be a very good thing for your channel, just as you're getting the reps in. And then as you can kind of implement some of these other things, maybe as you're working through your outline, whether it's through Spotter, ChatGPT, asking for like different shot lists and different ideas for story beats, and looking at some of those things and going, okay, normally if I'd done this video the way that I used to, it would take 1 week. But if I really dive into this and try and make it as good as possible, this is going to take me 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of make that call. Well, could I do 2 videos at once? Make one the old style that's going to take a week to fill the gap, or do I just need to dive all the way in, skip a publishing, skip one of your publishing days? Like, you may find out that that's the right thing, and maybe just try it once. Like, it's not going to be the end of the world for most channels to miss one publishing day.
Right.
And then see if you can deliver. I think that's the big thing. If you publish something that 2.5 weeks later you're really proud of, you feel like you made leaps and bounds of progress in your storytelling, in your editing, in however you crafted your story, great. That's huge. But if you walk away going, I didn't really take the time, I really just procrastinated, and then I ended up making a very similar video that usually just takes me 1 week, then maybe you can realize you're not quite ready to make that move yet.
Yeah, totally. Along those lines, Eric Nasty Cat says, posting a lot can still help grow your channel. Yes, it can. And I would say especially early on. I've seen too many people put a lot of effort, make one video, they spend a month on it, and then that video just flops.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning, YouTube doesn't even know who to show your content to for the most part. We try to help that process along, but it's going to be slow on the uptake. If your first video is amazing, it'll start out slow, but YouTube will see the right signals and it'll probably work. But you just won't know if your content's amazing unless you have a lot of skill and a lot of training and really good intuition into that. And so most people don't, especially on their first channel, make their first video and have it just take off. Yeah. And so you need to get comfortable on camera. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. You need to figure out what ideas are working and not working. And so publishing more frequently is good.
Maybe tell them about the blanket video.
Oh, yeah.
Because that one you published pretty early
I did. It was, so I started the channel that I made that Spotter account for. I started that channel about 1.5 years ago. And in the first 30 days of the channel, I published 30 videos. It was nuts. Most people, I wouldn't say do that. I've made a ton of YouTube content over the years, and I could mostly work on that most days. I do run this company, but at the same time, I had a lot of hours every day I could do that. But I was editing into the evening every night. Yeah. So I did that, and one of the videos I made, I actually had done the testing several months before and had filmed it as B-roll. But essentially what I did was I had these those Mylar emergency blankets, those like space blankets.
Looks like tinfoil.
Yeah. And I had a couple of it's more like a sleeping bag, right? It's kind of glued together in the shape of a rectangle so that you can climb down into it. And I actually did testing. I put a temperature probe, one on my back and one on my chest, just like a barbecue probe, but I just taped it in place. And then I wrapped myself up, and it was like February or March, and I went up into the mountains where it was snowy, and I sat there until the temperatures sort of settled out to see how warm it was inside next to my body, how warm it could keep it. And just anyway, it was, and then I just talked about it, how it felt, how warm I felt, was it going to work well or not. And that video, I mean, it did fine on the new channel, right? I was publishing daily, so that was cool. Like, I got some views. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it suddenly, I got to pull it up now. It suddenly, just like a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half, it just took off. Let's see how many views it has. And this was like 400 some odd days after I published it. It now has 159,000 views. The channel doesn't even have 5,000 subscribers, but I have 159,000 views on a video, and it didn't take off for a year and a half. And it was one of the videos that had more effort put into it on that channel, because I had actually gone to the mountains and done the testing and stuff. But it took a year and a half for YouTube to figure it out.
Yeah. We always talk about lines in the water, planting seeds, right? It's the content you get out there. Other YouTube educators talk about this. I've heard Daryl Eve say this. It's like sometimes we think if the video doesn't perform in the first 7 days, that all is for naught, right? We just it was trash, it didn't work, that was a bad idea. Sometimes it just takes time. Yeah, and sometimes, yes, we will all publish bad ideas, right? That just happens. But to some extent, the more videos you can put up, the more lines in the water you have, the more seeds you're planting, and the better you get. Like you said, this one was a higher effort video. It worked. You say, it worked. It did better than many of the other videos did, but it took a year and a half. And so that video where you could have, written it off, 300 days in, it finally did something after a while. And I think that that's really exciting. We see that happen on a lot of people's channels. It's usually slow, steady growth, a couple videos that go, they bring up the baseline just a little bit, and it just takes time.
Yeah. A couple more questions here we'll take before we wrap up. Live Chats with Diane says, how do you decipher from a good idea to a great idea? Is that personal bias on what you think, or what others would view as a great idea? The biggest way to decipher between the two is boatloads of experience. And even then, you'll get it wrong. That's the problem. So we just have to work through a lot of ideas, not let yourself get too stuck on any one idea. It's kind of like when you're going to buy a house. They always say, like, if you want a good deal on a house, you can't just go fall in love with a house, because then you'll be willing to pay whatever they want to sell it for, right? You've got to be willing to look at multiple different options and then be willing to walk away if it's not a good deal anymore. With your ideas, it's the same way. If you get in the process and you're working on this and you're like, I just can't get this to come together into a good story, well, maybe you need to walk away from that idea. And maybe later you'll come up with, you'll just strike gold. You'll realize, that's what I need to do. But if it's not working, like, walk away from the idea, because ideas we're learning are so easy to come up with. We just got to keep at it. So, but really, you just have to do this a lot. You can ask your friends, but they'll all be biased. You can look at it yourself, but you'll be biased based on who you think your audience is. It's really hard to know.
It is hard.
Eric Nasty Cat asks, can we submit vlog ideas as a contender to win, or do you recommend coming up with ideas that are going to be bangers? If you just are trying to get to 10 so that you have at least enough to be eligible, go ahead and throw some vlog ideas in there and try to level up your vlog ideas. I think that's fantastic. And there are vlog style videos that can do incredibly well, but maybe it's just there's a little bit more to the story than maybe what you're doing so far. But I would, for whatever one you submit, I would try to come up with the best banger video that's a realistic one that you could feasibly make, but that's just the best idea you can come up with. And if that means stepping a little bit away from the vlog concept, that's fine. But the vlog concept, or at least some principles of vlogging, can make for really good stories. So I'm not necessarily saying that vlog is bad. Really, a lot of us could implement a little bit more vlogginess into our videos to make them more engaging.
Yeah, one thing that I love about vlog style videos is those people who do vlogs, they are not afraid to pick up the camera at any time and film something. And it's not like,
do way
I
more
have
of
a
that.
filming session scheduled at 3 p.m. today.
Yeah.
No, you film something when there's something to film, right?
Yeah.
That is something that I think a lot of us need to be willing to adopt. I also think from a marketing perspective, when you are looking at, let's say it's a daily vlog, you're trying to pull the juiciest, most interesting parts of that day out for the marketing, right? And so I think that that's another great thing that I love about vlogs is that exercise of going, what is the most interesting thing in my day? What's the most curiosity-inducing thing that people will click on? And that's something, again, if I'm just doing a 7 steps to blah, 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 it's like, how do I make a really juicy title out of that? From a vlogging perspective, you really do have to pick out the most interesting things. So I think there's a lot of valuable things that come from vlog-style videos. So I would agree. I think that you could get a total winner from a vlog-style video idea.
Yep. We'll take one more here. Board Game Officer asked, I have 3 iPhones that I use to film. All my videos are in the office filming board games. Would it be worth it to get a Sony ZV-E10? The Sony ZV-E10 is a good camera for a lot. It's a really simple camera that can give you some really good high-quality stuff for YouTube.
So that's the one that
content.
I just got for my channel.
Yeah, and we have the ZV-10?
Yeah,
the one, which is similar, but it only has the built-in lens. It doesn't have the interchangeable lenses. That's the only difference, I think. Really good camera, but if you have 3 iPhones, those are gonna work, I think, really well for you.
Low light with iPhones is typically a little bit more difficult. So depending on the studio setting indoors that you're working with, that was the limitation I found with my iPhone filming.
And we always use LED lights and stuff.
So if you have adequate lighting, I think the iPhones will take you all the way.
For a long, long time.
But if you're struggling with that, then the ZV-10 can be a big help. The problem is you're starting to get into lenses. I think that's the big pro and the con. If you're wanting to upgrade, it's a great place to start. But the body of the camera costs just as much as the lens does.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, this lens is great for this one thing, but what about this other situation? Now I need 2 or 3. And so that said, if you're going to go that direction anyway, it's a great way to get started because it allows you to start getting lenses.
Yeah.
You can get this sort of entry level camera and then use great lenses, and it makes it look great.
And it's the same E-mount, right?
Yeah, it's E-mount, Sony E-mount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you ever upgraded your camera to like the Alpha 67, 68, are they on 6800 now?
I think so.
Like that, it's the same lenses, and so.
Yeah, I ended up getting another camera, another Sony. I ended up getting the 66.
That we have here.
Yeah, all the lenses are interchangeable, so that was nice. But if you don't have to spend the money on it, like if you have 3 iPhones for filming, if you can just get good lighting, then you're probably on your way. So
cool. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for your questions and for participating with us. We're glad to have you here. I want to see you win because I want to see you in LA.
Get signed up, guys. This is going to be such a cool opportunity for those of you who participate on any level. So get signed up. Links in the description below this. If you guys have any other questions, comment anywhere else on this channel.
Yeah.
We'll find them and we'll answer your questions for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.
Sweet.